what is the domain of the function f of x equals 2 over radical 4 minus x? Okay, so here with this function, we see a couple things here, right? First of all, it's a rational function. Okay, so as a rational function, that means it's a fraction, right? We know that a denominator cannot equal 0. Okay, so we want to find out, what value of x will make the denominator equal 0. But we also see, there's a radical as well, right? What do we know about radicals? Right, radicals cannot be negative. So here it's sort of we got to take into account both, okay? So let's take a look, right? What do we want essentially? Okay, we want 4 minus x to be strictly greater than 0. Okay, now ask yourself that question. Why do we want 4 minus x to be strictly greater than 0? Okay, because 4 minus x is the quantity inside the radical, so we want that to be positive. Okay, but remember, we don't want this to equal 0 either, right? So we're not going to put that greater than or equal to here. Okay, so this is actually going to solve the domain for us, right? These are all the values of x that are going to work. Okay, so now at this point, all we have to do is we just have to go ahead and solve this. Okay, so let's subtract the 4 to both sides, so I get negative x is greater than negative 4. So I'm going to subtract 4 to both sides, right? Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1. Okay, now remember, when we do so, this is an inequality. We're dividing by a negative number. Okay, so then what's going to happen? Right, we're going to do this. Negative 4 divided by negative 1 is positive 4, but because we divided by a negative, this has to switch over. Okay, so what does this mean? It means that the domain, right, is going to be what? Okay. Now we'll write this out in words, right? Domain will be all real numbers. Okay, all real numbers. Strictly less than, right? Less than, not less than or equal to, right? Less than or less than 4. Okay. And now, of course, we usually write this in interval notation, right? So we can put this on the number line here. Okay, we'll put the 4. Right, and we're going to put an open circle going to the left. Okay, so what's the final answer then in interval notation? It'll be negative infinity, comma 4 with a parentheses. Okay, so this will be the final answer in interval notation. Remember, what does that mean? It means that these are all the values of x that will work in this function, right? As long as we plug in any value that is less than 4, we will be able to get an answer, right? So for example, right, let's try this. Okay, if I ask you, okay, what is f of 0, right? Well, we know that it's in our domain, so we should be able to plug it in and we should be able to get an answer, right? So this is not really part of the problem, but we're just trying it out, right? Of course, we get radical 4 here, which is just 2, so we get 1, right? So f of 0 is equal to 1. Now let's do this. What about f of 4? What happens when you plug in f of 4? Right, let's try that. 2 over radical 4 minus 4, right? So we get 2 over, well, 4 minus 4 is just 0. Remember, radical 0 is 0, right? Radical 0 works. Okay? But there's a problem. It's in the denominator. Okay? So what does that tell us? It tells us that 4 is not in the domain, which we've already determined, right? The answer tells us that.